Why did Phil Collins create the music for Tarzan? Well, for Phil Collins, it was when he was watching animated movies with his children that he felt inspired to get involved in the world of animation. But at first, he only believed he was capable of being a voice actor. You see, Phil Collins is best known for becoming one of the most successful pop and adult contemporary artists of all time. He was a dominant force in the music world as a solo artist and as the drummer and lead vocalist of the rock band Genesis, especially in the 1980s. But Phil Collins had been exploring music, performing on stage and appearing in films ever since he was a child. As a boy, he was cast in films like Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, and years later, as an adult, he was featured in films like Steven Spielberg's Hook, which eventually led him to voice Luck and Muck in Amblin Entertainment's 1995 animated feature, Balto. While Phil had been wanting to write for films for a while, writing the music for an animated film felt out of reach since he knew the songs were so integral to telling the story, especially in the features created by Disney. But in the summer of 1995, the same year as his voice acting debut, he received a call from a now Disney legend, Chris Montan, the executive music producer for Disney's next jungle adventure, inviting him to write the songs for Tarzan. Hello fun people, I'm Isaac Carlson, and today I'm ecstatic to discuss Phil Collins' involvement in Tarzan because it's one of Disney's most widely beloved soundtracks of all time. It's my brother's favorite Disney movie. I loved seeing You'll Be in My Heart in Disney World's fireworks, and I think exploring this type of behind the scenes history is just so fascinating. And if you'd like to see more videos like this one and you want to help me get to 1 million subscribers, consider subscribing. Now, the phone call from Disney felt like a golden opportunity for Phil. He was honored to make a mark with Disney as he believed they had a heritage that was unequaled. But he did feel hesitant of his ability to deliver what the filmmakers were envisioning for their story. He knew writing music about yourself is a lot different than writing about a character in the context of a larger film. But when Phil Collins met with the Tarzan directors Kevin Lima and Chris Buck in Geneva, Switzerland, along with the Walt Disney Feature Animation president Thomas Schumacher, he was convinced that they weren't searching for another Alan Menken or Elton John. They wanted him. You see, at the time that Tarzan was beginning production, there was simultaneously a feeling at Disney's animation studio that they needed to reach the same type of success that they had found in the past while also remaining relevant in the future. On one hand, many people were attempting to capture the same success that The Lion King had achieved in 1994, but at the same time, there was clearly a shifting landscape that was going on in the animation world. There was new competition and new technology being developed at a rapid pace. Pixar's Toy Story proved that a 3D animated film that was not made by Disney could reach a high level of financial and critical success, and it wasn't even a musical. While the directors of Tarzan clearly took inspiration from Disney and Elton John's collaboration for The Lion King, since they pursued another contemporary music artist for their film in Phil Collins, they also didn't want to create a traditional Disney musical, which is clearly inspired by Toy Story. Tarzan's creative team wanted to take an intentional departure from the successful musical format that had been produced by Disney throughout the 90s. That's why they appointed Bonnie Arnold, the producer of Toy Story, to oversee Tarzan. The directors felt they just didn't want Tarzan to sing, since they felt a half-naked man sitting on a branch breaking out into song was ridiculous. Of course, I think mice singing about making a dress, a candle singing about dinner, and a meerkat and warthog singing about relaxing sounds wild too, but in the context of great animated movies, those are iconic and classic moments. It's also kind of funny reading quotes like that from the directors of Tarzan because Disney eventually transformed Tarzan into a Broadway musical, but at the time, leaders within Disney Animation were beginning to get excited about experimenting with what stories they could try to tell through animation, a trend that would extend long into the 2000s and would leave the animation studio in a very precarious situation. But at the time, it made sense that the Tarzan directors wanted to combine the way Toy Story used Randy Newman's music with the talent and star power of Phil Collins. In Tarzan, the songs would act as a narration of the story. Phil Collins was asked to develop music that he would then perform, where he'd behave as the mouthpiece for how the characters were thinking and feeling as the story progressed. Now, prior to the Switzerland meeting, Phil had read Edgar Rice Burroughs' Tarzan of the Apes and was then given a treatment of the film. Once Phil Collins agreed to work on Tarzan, he was told he could wait until the story was worked through to start developing music. But as the story goes, within 2 weeks he sent 5 songs back to Disney. three of which entered the film. Son of Man, Strangers Like Me, and Trash in the Camp all began from improvisation sessions and reactions that he felt while reading the film's early treatment. And later, when Thomas Schumacher and then Disney CEO Michael Eisner heard the earliest demo of Son of Man, they called Phil Collins directly to thank him for his work. To begin discussing what Collins had written and to explore more song ideas, he was brought to meet the Walt Disney Feature Animation team in Burbank, where he felt excited and a bit intimidated, but through their discussions there was a mutual respect that was established. By the end, after learning that the filmmakers were looking to create an anthem for the film, he started to find the rhythm that would become Two Worlds, which was described by the team creating the film to be completely visually inspiring. You'll Be in My Heart came soon after, and it's a song dedicated to Phil Collins' children, Lily, Jody, and Simon. He was inspired by the love he had for his own children and the visual of Tarzan and Kala's hands touching. The bulk of the song was actually written one night at a neighbor's house in Switzerland during a Christmas dinner. He wrote down the chords and the melody on old wrapping paper, and when he played it for Chris Montan, it already had a perfect chorus. Chris explained that after one revision of the verse, the song was practically done, and it would eventually become the film's most critically acclaimed song. By 1996, Phil Collins left Genesis to focus on his solo work and to write the songs for Tarzan, and over the next 3 years, he collaborated with the composer Mark Mancina to develop his music so that it could integrate seamlessly into the film. Mark had previously produced and arranged the music for The Lion King, so it was easy for the duo to collaborate and build the songs and score together to make it feel a part of Tarzan's world. Throughout those years, Phil continued to fine-tune and tailor the lyrics of his songs to the story even while he was on tour, and some of those demos he made during those busy years even became a part of the final film. But all of the hard work eventually paid off. The songs for Tarzan were dubbed in 35 languages, the most of any Disney movie at the time, and Phil Collins even sang in different languages for the album, which was a first for him. He recorded the Tarzan album in the English, Italian, German, Spanish, and French versions of the soundtrack. The album itself went on to sell over 2.5 million copies in the United States alone, and in 2000, Phil won a Grammy for Best Soundtrack Album for his work on Tarzan, and the song You'll Be in My Heart won both the Golden Globe and the Academy Award for Best Original Song. Throughout the film's production, Phil Collins' music led the creative team to explore new paths in their story. The songs added a deep emotion to Tarzan's tale, and the music became a defining piece of the story. Millions of people have connected with Phil Collins' music from Tarzan in an extremely unique and special way. When it comes to Disney music, there are only a few songs that break into wider culture, and there's even fewer albums that are remembered and adored decades later by Disney and non-Disney fans alike. My friends from high school had music from 2 Disney movies in their music playlists. There was I'll Make a Man Out of You from Mulan, and there were the songs from Tarzan. To this day, people still celebrate the powerful, inspiring, and brilliantly crafted music from the last film in Disney's Renaissance. When Phil Collins reflected on the experience, he stated that he believes some of the music he created for Tarzan is some of the best in his career, and that it was a great feeling to be a part of a project that's going to last forever. Fun people, if the magic of Disney is calling you, my team at Imaginative Travel is here to guide you along the way. We can start planning your next Disney vacation at planimaginative.com, or you can find the link in the description. And while you're down there, consider checking out our relaunched merch store, imaginativestore.com, and our Patreon. Finally, as always, thanks for watching and have a magical day.